Hello internet dwellers, and welcome back to Marvelous Videos, the channel dedicated to the wonderful world of comics, TV shows, and films. Today, we're going to explore 15 of the best dark fantasy cult classic movies released in the 80s. Before we get into this exploration, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to the channel. It's a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Willow! Queen Bavmorda, the evil sorceress of Nockmaar, hears a prophecy that a child will soon be born that will bring about her downfall. To prevent this, she imprisons all pregnant women in her realm, but the child is born and snuck out of captivity by the midwife, who sets the baby adrift on a tangle of dried grass in the nearby river. The baby drifts down to a village of dwarfs and is found by Willow Ufgood, a wannabe sorcerer and farmer. Willow finds out that the baby is the future princess of Tir Asleen, Elora Danan, and sets out to Tir Asleen while making sure that the baby is unhurt by Bavmorda's evil forces. Thankfully, he's aided in this journey by Mad Mardigan, a mercenary, Fairy Queen Sherlindria, and some brownies. Starring Warwick Davis in the titular role, this movie also has Val Kilmer, Billy Barty, Jean Marsh, and Joanne Whalley in its cast. Directed by Ron Howard, this 1988 film is based on a story written by George Lucas himself. Since the reception of Willow wasn't as positive as Lucas had hoped, he continued the story in 3 novels titled Shadow Moon, Shadow Dawn, and Shadow Star. This feel-good film is a must-watch if you want some much-needed hope in a seemingly hopeless world. Legend! Starring a young Tom Cruise, Mia Sara, and Tim Curry, the 1985 movie Legend is directed by Ridley Scott and written by William Hortzber. The movie's cinematography is exceptional and won the British Society of Cinematographers Award. The pacing is a bit slow, but the visuals of Legend make it a worthwhile watch. The story is a fantastical tale of the Lord of Darkness who wants to bring night upon Earth forever and sends his goblins to hunt down unicorns. Since unicorns are only attracted to pure beings, the goblins follow Princess Lily and her beau, Jack in the Green. Unicorns come out, attracted by her purity, but the goblins hunt one down and saw off its horn. Winter descends immediately, and Lily runs away in fear. Lily happens upon the Lord of Darkness talking about his plans and finds out that he needs to kill the unicorn's mare. He kidnaps Lily and begins to fall for her pure self. Meanwhile, it's up to Jack to revive the dead unicorn by stealing the horn back to save Lily from the clutches of darkness. If you think Jack has bitten off more than he can chew, you should watch this movie to find out how he comes out on top. The Black Cauldron. The first Disney film that wasn't a musical, The Black Cauldron was loosely based on Lloyd Alexander's The Chronicles of Prydain. Set in the Kingdom of Prydain, the movie revolves around Turan, a pig keeper for Dalben the Enchanter. Dalben finds out that the evil Horned King wants the Black Cauldron, a relic that can create an undefeatable army of undead warriors. Dalben asks Turan to look after his oracular pig, Henwen, as he doesn't want the king to steal him to locate the relic. Unfortunately, Henwen is taken by the king, and when Turan tries to save the pig, he too is thrown in the dungeon. With the help of Gurgi, a badger-like beast, and fellow captives Princess Elanwe and Fwender Flam, a bard, Turan escapes the dungeon. He meets King Idaleg, who saves Henwen and finds out where the cauldron is. Ordu, Orgok, and Orwen, witches and keepers of the cauldron, reveal that the cauldron can only be destroyed when someone willingly climbs into it and sacrifices themselves. Before Turan can decide what to do, the Horned King arrives and unleashes the army. Gurgi climbs into the cauldron, and it begins consuming everything in its vicinity, which includes the Horned King and his new army. The cauldron is destroyed, and the witches revive Gurgi upon Turan's request. This animated flick could be disappointing to Alexander's readers, but it's quite gripping, and Disney's beautiful art isn't something you can easily overlook. Return to Oz. 6 months after Dorothy's adventures in Oz, she's admitted to Dr. Worley's sanatorium as her uncle and aunt believe she's delusional. A mysterious girl breaks Dorothy out and she floats away on a chicken coop in a river. She takes a nap on the chicken coop, and when she wakes up, she finds herself back in Oz. Unfortunately, Oz is in ruins, the yellow brick road destroyed, and the citizens turned to stone. A mechanical man, Tick-Tock, tells Dorothy that her friend the Scarecrow was captured by the Gnome King, who destroyed the Emerald City. The Gnome King King turns Scarecrow into a gem and hides him among other gems. He offers Dorothy the chance to save him by picking him out, but if she fails, she too will be turned into a gem. When Dorothy succeeds, the Gnome King becomes enraged and grows gigantic to eat them all, but Dorothy's chicken lays an egg inside his mouth, which poisons him and kills him. Thanks to this, Princess Ozma, the rightful ruler of Oz, who was locked in a mirror by the Gnome King's accomplice, Princess Mombi, is freed. Dorothy realizes that it was Ozma who freed her from the sanatorium. Dorothy finds her ruby slippers and wishes for the restoration of the Emerald City. She hands over the slippers to Ozma, who sends her back home. Based on Frank Baum's books, Ozma of Oz and The Marvelous Land of Oz, this movie is an unofficial sequel to MGM's The Wizard of Oz. This 1985 movie stars Jean Marsh, Nicole Williamson, Fairuza Balk, and Piper Laurie. If you're used to the wonderful world of Oz without the dark imagination of Frank Baum, you might get a little scared, but this movie can truly captivate you if you give it the chance. Krull! The planet Krull is under attack by the Beast and his army of slayers in their spaceship, the Black Fortress. To destroy him, Prince Colwyn and Princess Lissa decide to marry, as their courtship will give them special powers. On the day of their wedding, the Beast kidnaps Lissa and injures Colwyn. Ynir, the Old One, nurses Colwyn back to health and tells him that the only weapon that can destroy the Beast is the glaive, an ancient throwing star-like weapon. Colwyn finds the weapon and travels to the Black Fortress with Ynir, Ergo the Magnificent, a magician, and a band of 9 thieves. Their journey is perilous, and many perish along the way. However, the Beast promises to spare Lissa's people if she marries him, but she says no, holding out hope for true love. Colwyn attacks the Black Fortress and throws glaive at the Beast, causing it to become embedded in his body. He quickly marries Lissa, which gives them both the power to wield fire, and with this new power, they kill the Beast. Directed by Peter Yates, this 1983 movie has a lot of recognizable faces like Liam Neeson, Robbie Coltrane, Ken Marshall, and Freddie Jones. Krull is a wonderful blend of sci-fi elements with fantasy, but it's full of unconvincing special effects. The dialogue is weak and nothing special, but the pacing and the engaging storyline make this movie a memorable watch. The Gate. 12-year-old Glenn is left alone with his sister Al in charge, and his parents have some business out of town. Al throws a party, and Glenn explores a newly unearthed geode in his backyard with his friend Terry. Glenn and Terry unknowingly break open the geode, after which Glenn begins to levitate and watches his bedroom wall stretch. Terry has his own weird experience as he hugs an apparition of his dead mother, which turns out to be Glenn's dog Angus, whom he unknowingly kills. Terry and Glenn realize that the geode is a portal to evil gods that are ready to be unleashed as soon as they receive a sacrifice. Unbeknownst to them, one of Al's friends has dumped Angus's body in the hole and has already unleashed evil. It's up to Al, Glenn, and Terry to fight the demonic gods and banish them back to the hellhole they crawled out of before their parents come back. Stephen Dorff's acting debut was actually in this 1987 horror film directed by Tibor Takacs. The movie gained a cult following and was a box office success, gaining a 1990 sequel called Gate 2: Trespassers. With surprisingly good special effects, the movie can be a bit cheesy at times, but the funny and thrilling moments glided along for an entertaining time. The Secret of Nimh, based on Mrs. Frisby and the Rats of Nimh, the 1971 novel by Robert C. O'Brien. The Secret of Nimh is the 1982 directorial debut of Dawn Bluth. Elizabeth Hartman voices the protagonist, Mrs. Brisby, in her final film role. The movie was adored by viewers and made $14.7 million at the box office. Often hailed as Dawn Bluth's best work, the animation isn't the only wonderful thing about this movie. With a dramatic plot and that amazing hand-drawn animation that Dawn Bluth is famous for, this movie makes for a unique and magical film experience. The movie is about Mrs. Brisby, a widowed field mouse who plans to move out of her current home in the farm of the Fitzgibbons family. Her plans are interrupted by her son Timothy, who's diagnosed with pneumonia and needs to stay inside for 3 weeks to avoid death. Unfortunately, the Fitzgibbons begin plowing the field, and Mrs. Brisby seeks the help of some smart rats. The rats were part of an experiment at the National Institute of Mental Health, or NIMH for short, and it boosted their intelligence. Led by Nicodemus, the rats agree to help Mrs. Brisby move to Thorn Valley with the help of their technological skills. Nicodemus gives Brisby a magical amulet that only activates when the wearer shows true courage. The rats too want to leave for the valley, but Jenner, a rat who loves his house, sabotages them and gets Nicodemus killed. Brisby's troubles only get worse when a thunderstorm begins and causes her house to sink into the muddy ground. Brisby's only solution is to activate the amulet. Watch the movie to find out how she does it and how things end. The Last Unicorn. Adapted from the 1968 novel of the same name by Peter S. Beagle, The Last Unicorn is a 1982 animated film directed by Arthur Rankin Jr. and Jules Bass. The voice cast contains recognizable names like Jeff Bridges, Christopher Lee, Mia Farrow, and Angela Lansbury. The movie follows the quest of a unicorn to find others like them after a malevolent being called the Red Bull herded all unicorns to the ends of the earth. Schmendrick, a magician, turns the unicorn into a human called Lady Amalthea to help her escape the Red Bull. She visits the castle of King Haggard, the keeper of the Red Bull, to find any clues to help her quest, but she falls in love with Haggard's adopted son, Prince Lear. The Red Bull finds out about her true form and attacks her. Prince Lear intervenes to save her, but is killed. The angered unicorn attacks and murders the Red Bull, which releases the trapped unicorns. Before departing to her home with her new unicorn friends, she revives Lear. If you like movies by Miyazaki and have gone through all the Studio Ghibli films at least twice, you should probably check out The Last Unicorn. Here's a fun fact for you. Rankin/Bass, the production company behind the movie, was hired by Miyazaki for Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, and core members of Rankin/Bass went on to form Studio Ghibli. If you're yearning for a whimsical time and like classic fantasy, put on The Last Unicorn. The Dark Crystal. Thousands of years ago, on a planet called Thra, Jen was a young gelfling, one of the last of his kind after the cruel Skeksis slaughtered his clan. He's adopted by the Mystics, a gentle race of beings. The Skeksis and Mystics were formed after a powerful crystal cracked. Jen was chosen to fulfill the prophecy of healing the crystal, as without it, the Skeksis would rule forever. Jen sets out with Kira, another gelfling, to heal the crystal while facing active attacks from the Skeksis army, which contains the giant crab-like warriors known as the Garthin. Will the two gelflings succeed in their mission, or will the tyranny of the Skeksis continue for all eternity? You know where to find the answers. The Dark Crystal was written by David Odell and directed by Jim Henson and Frank Oz in 1982. Reminiscent of the works of J.R.R. Tolkien, it's a great lesson in morality and a technical masterpiece. Labyrinth. Teenager Sarah Williams hates her baby half-brother Toby and wishes goblins from her book, The Labyrinth, would take him away. Sarah clearly hasn't heard of being careful what you wish for, as her wish comes true and the Goblin King Jareth kidnaps him. He gives her 13 hours to solve a labyrinth and save the infant before he's completely turned into a goblin. On the way, she encounters many weird and fantastical creatures like Hoggle, a dwarf, Ludo, a beast, and Sir Didymus, an anthropomorphic fox terrier. But do they all intend to help her, or are they disguised helpers of Jareth? You need to turn on Labyrinth to discover the answers. Terry Jones, known from the hilarious Monty Python troupe, wrote the script for this 1986 musical fantasy which stars David Bowie and Jennifer Connelly. Although the movie underperformed compared to its high budget, the movie gained cult status thanks to its success on home media. The movie has almost no haters and is remembered for its imaginative characters and the bizarre creativity of director Jim Henson. The Neverending Story. Bastian Balthazar Bucks is a shy and imaginative boy who hides in a bookstore to avoid his bullies. In the bookstore, he discovers a book titled The Neverending Story, through which he discovers the world of Fantasia. Fantasia is plagued by a dark force called the Nothing, and their childlike empress has fallen ill. A warrior named Atreyu is appointed to save Fantasia by curing the princess and defeating the Nothing. Atreyu seeks out Morla, the Ancient One, who tells him the empress can only be cured after a human child names her and calls her. Atreyu finds out that Balthazar is following along with their story and asks him to help save his empress. Balthazar names her Moonchild and screams it out. The empress gives him the last grain of sand of Fantasia and tells him that he can restore Fantasia with his powers of imagination. After Fantasia is restored, Bastian flies out to the real world on Atreyu's luck dragon Falkor to defeat his bullies. Wolfgang Petersen's first English film, The Neverending Story, is based on the 1979 novel of the same name and stars Noah Hathaway, Barrett Oliver, and Tammy Stronach. This was the most expensive film ever produced at that time, with a budget of 50 million Deutschmarks, which comes to about $27 million. The movie isn't without its flaws and can be dated at times, but Atreyu saves the film just like he saves Fantasia. Troll. Turok is a wicked troll king set out to restore his troll kingdom in a San Francisco apartment complex. His first victim is the young Wendy Ann, whose family recently moved to San Francisco. Turok possesses Wendy and begins sneaking into other apartments to turn people into plant pods and other trolls using his mystical emerald ring. Wendy's parents remain oblivious, but her brother Harry realizes that something is wrong with her and seeks the help of Eunice St. Clair, a friendly old witch who used to be married to Turok. How will the young Harry save his sister from the clutches of evil? Will the parents ever find out about the trolls? Does Turok still harbor any love for Eunice? If you can hardly wait to answer those questions, you need to immediately turn to the 1986 movie Troll. Impressed by Noah Hathaway's performance in the Neverending Story, director John Carl Buechler gave him the lead role in this film. You can also catch the debut role of Julia Louis-Dreyfus in Troll. This is one of those movies that's so bad it somehow becomes good. Although the plot isn't super interesting, the sheer star power of the movie will draw you in and leave you with a couple of good laughs. Dragonslayer. Vermithrax, an old dragon, terrorizes Erland, and the king, Cassiodorus, offers the dragon 2 virgin maids as a peace offering. The last hope of Valerian, an Erland youth trying to find a permanent solution to Erland's dragon problem, is Galen Bradward, the apprentice of the powerful sorcerer Ulrich, who has the wizard's amulet and his cremated remains. Galen is also tasked with completing Ulrich's last wish to scatter his ashes in a lake of burning water. Valerian reveals herself to be a woman hiding in the guise of a man to escape being sacrificed to the dragon. Galen wins the trust of Cassiodorus and butchers the dragon with some help from his dead mentor. The second co-production between Paramount Pictures and Walt Disney Productions, Dragonslayer is a 1981 dark fantasy film directed by Matthew Robbins and starring Peter MacNicol, Caitlin Clarke, and John Hallam. This is the first film to use Go Motion, a special form of animation where some parts of the dragon were mechanized while others were animated. Dragonslayer isn't a perfect movie and can sometimes lag, but the production quality is top-notch and you'll be swept up in the world of Erland. The Witches of Eastwick. Set in Eastwick, Rhode Island, Alexandra Medford, Suki Ridgemont, and Jane Spofford are 3 best friends who have recently ended their marriages. They aren't aware that they have magical powers and unknowingly create a coven as they meet regularly to discuss their love lives. A mysterious man known as Daryl Van Horn arrives in Eastwick and begins seeking Suki. This creates jealousy among the other 2 as they levitate a tennis ball. Discovering that they have magical powers, they decide to share Daryl, but Daryl seems to be evil incarnate as he arouses the worst fears in the women. They decide to get rid of him through voodoo, which unfortunately turns him into a monster. They manage to subdue him and move into his mansion together. Starring Michelle Pfeiffer, Susan Sarandon, and Cher as the 3 witches, The Witches of Eastwick is a 1987 movie that also stars Jack Nicholson as the mysterious Daryl. With a brilliant score from John Williams, the movie shows an interesting plot, the versatility of director George Miller, and a bit of silliness peppered all over. Paperhouse. Director Bernard Rose's 1988 film Paperhouse is based on the 1958 novel Marianne Dreams by Catherine Storr. Anna Madden, an 11-year-old girl afflicted with glandular fever, draws a house before falling asleep. In her dreams, she finds herself inside the house and meets Mark, a boy suffering from muscular dystrophy. As her father is often absent and her relationship with her mother is strained, Anna begins forging a friendship with Mark in her dreams and finds out that he's a real person. When her health takes a turn for the worse, her parents reunite and ask her to get better so they can take a vacation together. In her dreams, she sees Mark trapped in a lighthouse. Although she forces Mark to let her draw a ladder, Mark insists on drawing a helicopter. She wakes up before they can leave. The doctor tells her that Mark passed away, and Anna slowly comes to terms with it while strengthening her relationship with her parents. Although based on a children's book, the movie deals with a lot of mature topics like losing a loved one and dealing with fatal illnesses. The blurred lines between Anna's dream and reality effectively pulls you into her world and can end up frightening you too. Its evocative plot unfolds like a haunted poem, and you will surely regret not watching this movie. Marvelous verdicts! Dark fantasy is a wonderful genre as it incorporates the horrors of reality with the wonderful world of fantasy. These movies are truly an enjoyable experience, often with lessons you can employ in the real world. We hope we've given you dark fantasy lovers a good binge list with this video, but we're curious, which one of these movies is your favorite? Which one are you the most excited to watch? Let us know in the comments, we're excited to hear from you. As always, if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous day.